All right. And we're gonna go through chapter 7 today. We have only one more chapter of this volume, and we're done. It's quite an achievement.
Mhm.
And to do a little recap, um, during last chapter, the significance of shape and structure, we talked about the Platonic solids, and we also took a deep dive on all of the processes of getting from the seed of life to the Metatron's cube, and how Metatron's cube will generate all of the Platonic solids. He also related that with the Genesis pattern and the original Genesis explanation from the Bible, and relating each movement with each day. So the six X spheres external, or after the first one, relating to the 6 days of creation. And then he moves now to the chapter 7, the measuring stick of the universe. And I will go backwards. I'll go from the end of the chapter to the beginning, because we have some, just to keep talking about sacred geometry and uh, keeping the kind of drawing universe before we go to the biology side of it. And it is beautiful to see how everything is connected. But I would like to talk about the Fibonacci series and the phi number a little bit, because that's a pretty important relation, and that's also important sacred geometry uh, pattern and process. I'm gonna share my screen here so we can just kind of discuss this together. Can you see it, Katja? Yeah.
Yep, that looks, I can see it.
Okay. Let me get just what I want so I don't confuse you guys. Okay. So how the Fibonacci series is created. I'm gonna show geometrically, and then we can do it mathematically too. But if you have a square, right, this first square here, so you keep repeating the last pattern. So you get from one square to two squares, so 1 plus 1, and then you're gonna get the side of the square and do another square of that dimension. So from here to here. So we're gonna get this guy. And then if you are relating that to numbers, we're gonna get 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then we keep doing that. We're gonna draw another square, and the side of the square will be the sum of the last two, always the sum of the last two. So we're gonna get this guy. 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus 2, 5. And I'm only summing the sides. Then 5 plus 3, 8. 8 plus 5, 13. And then let me show you something. If you do 13 divided by 8, 1625. So as you keep progressing in this process, this number will get closer and closer to the phi number, 1.618, and it is a irrational number, so it goes on forever. If you do, it shows in a very nice way how to get it from a circle as well. And I just remember that now. So if you do square of 5 divided by 2 plus 0.5, he showed how to get here. You're gonna get the phi number as well. This is the whole phi number. And he gets this relationship from a circle of radius 1, I remember well. No, actually, yes, radius 1. But then, interesting thing is now that you know what is the phi ratio, we can keep adding the spiral without the need of the squares. So the way I draw those curves was really getting the diagonal of the squares from here to here, from here to here, this corner to this corner, this corner to this corner, and so on. Now, if I just copy this corner and I do if I scale that to the phi number 1.618, rotate, it's doing the same movement because now I know the ratio, so I can keep doing that without the squares. I didn't scale this one. Okay, that's a way. So actually, we showed 2 ways of getting this. A third way, we can do that on a line. He also did that. So I'm gonna draw a line the size of 1. Then if I get the line, so I just need two numbers to make the series, right? So 1 plus 1, 2. 2 plus 1, 3. 3 plus 2, 5, and I can just draw from one dot to the other. And this on goes forever. And if I divide, if this is standard to the infinite, and I just divided my last number by 1 before that, I get close to the phi number, 1.618. So a couple of ways of getting that relationship. Where is it found? Everywhere. It just showed how we have that relationship in different parts of our body. We have that in our finger. We have that in multiple parts of our body. In nature, we repeat this movement over and over and over again. And we have 2 parts of this, the male component and the female component. He goes through the male spiral, which would be just go from the diagonals here. Doing something like this. You have the male spiral and the female spiral. And the reason for that, we have discussed it. The male consciousness is straightforward, practical, linear, has a straightforward view, while the female energy moves in curve. It is the intuitive energy, the creative energy, the flow. So it moves and flows in a creative way, in a curved way. And I'm gonna pause here, see if anyone has any inputs or questions so far. So let's keep going. So this is important, like how to get there. In this relationship, it is important, and we're gonna use that in other exercises, and he will come back to this phi number, and we're gonna find in nature over and over and over again. But this during this chapter, I just want to go back and review the concept. And then we have another geometric pattern that I want to go through. He doesn't talk too much in this chapter, which is the torus. That's a harder one to draw, but I have a video here. Yeah. So this will be also a part of the Merkaba meditation, and that's why I want to take a moment to go over it. So when we draw the dot and the circle around it, you can see that as the top view of the torus. So the torus is this shape, which is it is almost like an apple. It has a singularity in the very middle of it. It goes up, expanding, and then it will come back to the bottom of it, and it will start contracting until it finds the singularity again. So this is the shape of the Earth's magnetic field. This is the shape of black holes. Wormholes, they are somewhat related to this. The page I was opening up, but we have some things here that, and the way it moves is pretty crazy, because it goes in one direction, but as it moves forward, it it kind of go to the other direction depending on the perspective that you look. So you can see here rotating clockwise, but as it keeps expanding and will go back inside, now when you look at you're rotating to the other side. So it actually have two rotations or counter rotations. And then we'll indicate a book here. There is this a lady that I really like to read. Her name is Peggy Phoenix Dubrow. She developed a system called EMF, and she has this book called Elegant Empowerment in English. And she'll go through our aura and the energetic field around us, but everything she puts together is very geometrical, and the way she describes the energy field around us is more like a torus than an oval, as many books describe. So just want to bring that kind of a parenthesis here. And some say that the flower of life is also the torus. That one is hard to see. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's also, I mean, there is a singularity in the middle, and we have the circle around it. But for me, that one is a little harder to see. Okay. So that is important because we're gonna do that, or we're gonna visualize that as part of the Merkaba meditation in 2 weeks. We're gonna have multiple elements. The Merkaba, the major one, it is the star tetrahedron, but as we expand that, we're gonna find other shapes, and João Paulo will talk about them. And then other part of this book or this chapter is that square and circle inside of the Metatron's cube. I don't know if you guys try to find that. I I kind of I figured out what he did it, but I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
So he just showed the square there, and I first wondered, okay, how do I get to the square? He doesn't mention the relationship between the square and the circle to start with. So I start from there, and what helped me was seeing those uh, that we had four squares, and we could draw a circle inside of the each square. So I started from there. Um, I did a square inside of the circle, and that didn't look like the drawing he was showing in the book. So I expanded the four circles until the radius would touch the outer circle. So I ended up with this shape. And then I did squares around it. And then I got to the relationship he shows in that drawing. And then from here to here, it's a little simpler because you can just match or go from one corner to the other. So get from one corner to the square and the second one to the outer circle. Then you do the same down below. And he mentioned the lines are parallel. So you can just mirror this image through this axis, and you're going to get this image. Then you mirror this image using this axis, and then you get this image. So I got to the point, he got it. I put in the Metatron's cube, but I still don't know why he used this relation in any other. And I even tried to find a phi number here, and I couldn't. And he mentioned he got it, and for many years he couldn't explain why, but he didn't say why.
Yeah.
So, kind of a bummer. He said, "Well, I took a while, but later on I found out. Okay, what did you find out? I want to know too." But anyway, I got how to get there, but not why he got there this way. If you guys ever figured that out, please let me know. And I'm gonna pause again. We went through Fibonacci, phi number, square and circle, and the torus. And I think those are the points he talks about in the sacred geometry. And of course, he's going to relate that with multiple things.
Yeah, I've just really been drawing them and just trying to see what I can glean. It's just I guess this part of it's kind of harder for me personally,
To draw, I mean?
to like sit and contemplate on it, to really like try to get it to get deeper understanding of it without, for my own interpretation. And it's
Yeah.
it's just different than what I'm used to, how I'm used to doing things, So it's good for sure, but I'm just not getting. I don't know, it's hard for me to interpret a lot from, I guess.
I remember when you're going through this exercise that you are practicing the female side.
Mm-hmm.
So, you go there with that creative perspective, with that contemplative perspective, and also to receive. As you receive, you draw. I'm just giving that perspective because that helped me when it helps me actually when I do that to remember, just remember that, okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going straight forward. I'm
Yeah.
going, I'm taking my time, and I'm gonna enjoy this moment, just like a kid, I'm gonna
Right.
have fun with this, and I'll just allow my creativity to guide me through this process. And then when I see I did a lot of random stuff, keep playing with stuff, but it just helped me to get that perspective. So I want to share that with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's nice to have this software too. I do it at work sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. It helps a lot. I do some by hand too,
Yeah.
but it takes way longer to do that by
Right. Yeah.
hand versus
A
doing
lot
that on AutoCAD.
Mhm.
Okay. Let me think if I have anything else regarding sacred geometry per se, and I don't think I have. The other one is more going through the cells and the movements of the cells and just making that relationship with the movement of the seed of life, egg of life, flower of life, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Open the book here real quick. Do you remember how the cells are splitting? Yeah. Okay. Why? So you can, because you have a biology background, so you can help us here. Because I don't go through that since high school. Yeah. The book here. That won't take too much time. I'll go just at high level. Oh, before that. Yeah, real quick here, guys. He also talks about the fruit of life in 3D, which is great to see in the book, but it's hard to visualize. And it gets harder to draw those things in 3D, but gladly something already did that for us. So I want to show this video real quick. So it's doing the seed of life, and it keeps repeating the pattern. It does the zona pellucida, trunk the image and gets the flower of life. It does the movement once again, it gets the fruit of life. It draws a straight line from the center of the circles to all of the other circles, and then you get the Metrotrons cube. So here, let me pause here. So it is showing the fruit of life in 3D. So that's pretty cool. We're drawing in 2D, but when you see in perspective, you can see that actually in 3D, we have really all of the platonic patterns there. You'll see how the Metrotrons cube is there, the hedron, icosahedron, the decahedron, it's all there. It's so cool. Tetrahedron also fits inside the Metrotrons cube. And around their bodies. Taurus. And this one also helps visualizing the Taurus.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's how Earth magnetic field looks like. And some authors will also describe our energetic fields like that. You know, yeah, that's the type of thing we'll need to visualize in the last step of the Merkaba meditation. It's showing two here. We're gonna actually have three. We're gonna have two counter-rotating ones and one fixed. So that one really relates to the exercise you're gonna do. Yeah. Beautiful.
Wow.
All right. We're gonna be doing that in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
Yeah, he has the picture here, but the video, I mean, it's much easier to see in the video. Now going back to the beginning of the book. Yeah, I found phenomenal this relationship between the doses and even conception and sacred geometry in each movement of the seed of life. Just the fact of having the Vesica Pisces here, you know, it is like our biology is teaching us just like everything else, because everything follows the same laws, the same patterns. And that's what sacred geometry is teaching us. The universe has a language, and geometry is the language. Yeah, you even find the tetrahedron there. Yeah, but to be honest, I'm not too. Yeah, my background's not biology, so I don't adventure myself here. I was able to follow, but I will try to explain and relate that to sacred geometry. All right, I'm gonna pause again. That's all I had to share, guys. I don't know if you have any other uh, topic to discuss or insights or any questions regarding this chapter.
yeah, just think about how to phrase the question, I guess. Like, how you say it? Like, do you think there's a? I mean, we will. Is it your goal to get to a point, or do you think it's possible to come to an understanding where everything that you see, these laws, you see the laws in physical objects? Do you understand that question?
Yes. I think so. I am way far from there, Elijah. But if you think of Matthias, for example, how every simple question, it comes from a deep place with an understanding that it is all a whole, like all connected. You
Yeah.
know? So I think it is. And I think it takes practice, of recognizing, first understanding the laws. Then once you understand them, you start to applying them. And to apply them, mainly need to be coherent, right? Because we're talking about, okay, geometry and how sacred geometry generate everything, but that also follows some spiritual laws, and those laws are described in Kybalion, for example.
That's
So
what I was
those laws, they're a little easier to understand and to apply. But apply here, it is a complex term, because for me, applies really to understand and be coherent with that. Because okay, I know the universe is mental. So knowing that, I'm gonna be careful if I think, because I'm creating through my thoughts. So even doing a step back, to begin with, I need to be present. That's the beginning of everything. I need to be present at every single time, so I can understand what is happening, and everything is happening for a reason, you know. So then, okay, I'm present now. I understand the laws, and I'm present. I can perceive them around myself, playing with me, and they're playing with me to teach me something, to drive me to a path. And if I'm present, I can listen to my heart to go to the right place, and I can manifest using those laws as well. If the word is mental, I mean, I can, in the present moment, make choice and intentions to shape my reality. So, it is a deep question, this one you made, but it is all of that, you know. So first of all, being present, I think it is possible to get there, and I feel like I'm really working to get there at some moment in this life or in my next one, or whenever it is, you know. But I know I'm too far from there. But for me, it really starts being present. And so only being present, we can recognize, make the relationships with the laws in the 3D world. And it is harder to see, you know, inside of your office or whatever work you do, you know, and you have someone stressful and, you know, okay, the laws. It's
Yeah.
not the first thing you're going to think, but it's there, you know.
So when you say be present, like what exactly are you meaning by that?
Living in the present, being conscious about your actions, what is surrounding us, and the activity you're doing. You're not, for example, in a place thinking of something else, thinking of your future or thinking of your past, you know. And you know, this is the first step, and for me, that's the most difficult step.
Isn't that the last step too, though? Kind of like once you're fully present, you like, aren't you essentially consciousness, like fully? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like that whole answer is like a Taurus. You know what I'm saying?
that it is. That's true. Well, you just answered, geometry just answered that. Yes, that's the first and the last step. You answered that yourself, bro.
It's like, man, I don't know. It's just something's just missing or so, you know, because it's like you can intellectually see it, and even beyond intellectually see it, you can feel it, but there just seems to be some thin disconnect still. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I wonder, I just can't find it. I think I know what it is or whatever,
But you can't, yeah,
but it's
you,
the thing that's saying me and I right now, right?
yes, I feel like you cannot find,
The
because
thing that's
you're looking for, you know,
exactly, as long as you're looking for it, you won't be able to
you will
find
find,
it.
you need to be there and be it.
But you see what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah,
that's it. That's
that's
the
it.
thin
Yeah,
thing. But it's just like what it you because you can't do something to do it, right? It's a
yes.
not doing, right? I mean, that's all spirituality. Like this is that's everything, right?
It is a paradox because it is not like you shouldn't act. You
Yeah.
shouldn't. It is a paradox.
It is a paradox. Yeah. Not acting the way that you think to act, I guess.
Yeah,
It's not the same acting, right?
yeah, yes. But when you still don't do it and you do nothing, you won't find either.
That's not it either. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a paradox.
Wow, man. It's so everything, man.
Well, thank you for this very deep and complicated question, Elijah.
Of course. What else am I good for? Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like one step at a time. And
Yep.
then, at least for me, being present, you know, it is It can be the last one too, but I mean, for me, it's definitely the first
Yeah.
step.
And so studying this, sacred geometry, I guess this is kind of another way of maybe interpreting your answer before. Like studying the sacred geometry while doing your spiritual practice is kind of what's going to get you there, right? Like you have to come at it from both ends or something, right?
Yes, you can think of that as a tool. In uh, in few chapters, John Bulu even mentioned that like you don't need sacred geometry to get to a super evolution place. You really need to hear to your intuition and to live in your heart.
Right.
And to do that, you don't necessarily need sacred geometry, but through sacred geometry, you find tools that will help you to do that. And man, I see that in myself. Doing the Merkaba technique, I just feel a huge change in my energy levels. If I'm feeling, it can be either emotional levels or mental levels or physical levels. I do it and I'm already in a much higher state of being. And apply those in a conscious way to help for with specific reasons as well. For example, if I'm in a room and I'm communicating, I can visualize the torus around myself, like the word getting out of my mouth is the upper portion of the torus, and that word, that information will go through the room, will get feedback from people, will come back to me, so I can tune the information based on what I receive from the people. Or if I need fire, like I need more energy, physical energy, I can visualize the tetrahedron around myself and visualize I am fire. You know, it is pretty cool actually to do those movements and to feel and realize how that change the way your present state. So that is one way of doing it.
Mm.
And some meditations or some schools of mystery will go through sacred geometry to achieve some specific tasks as well. So during Kabbalah, for example, some rituals in Kabbalah will protect yourself using a pentagon or a six-side star. And I do use those symbols a lot. And understanding sacred geometry just helped me to understand at a deep level what I'm doing, what I'm using those symbols for. And the energy doesn't really come from just visualizing the symbol, but understanding the meaning behind that. I felt a gigantic difference at some point in my life doing those rituals, for example, to protect myself, not having a deep understanding of the symbols and having a more thorough understanding of those symbols. So just giving a context of some ways of using sacred geometry as a tool, as evolutionary tool for consciousness.
I get it. Thank you. So yeah, so that you're visualizing, and this is like literally changing your vibration, right? When you're doing this. Yeah.
Yes. The other thing, as you practice the visualization, you just keep activating more and more your mental screen. So it is easier as you practice that to receive information as well and translate that. After you keep practicing the visualization, at some point you start receiving information better, and then after some more of that, you start translating the information. Even like, I don't know, in Naya ceremonies, in plant medicine ceremonies. And for a long time, I had practiced some of the sacred geometry meditations before doing plant medicine. And for a long time, everything I saw was just sacred geometry, like mandalas, many mandalas, shapes. But at some point, all of those shapes, they became something. It looks like my pineal gland can translate all of that information in something else, in like not everything, but a good part of that to something that I can understand. Sometimes, or very often, still very subjective and abstract, but it is forms, they are beings, they are messages that go or they come in a sacred geometry. It's not like a linear, type of information like we do with words. It is a pack of multidimensional information, and they often reveal themselves as a geometry pattern. And then at some point, you just get that and you kind of disclose that, and that becomes a lot of things and a deep experience, and you can internalize that energy that you're receiving, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it does definitely. It just leads to more questions, though. You know what I'm saying? Gosh. Yeah,
The
I
answer.
don't want to take all the time, class time.
I still have 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. I guess it might be kind of personal, but I know we don't really have like an end goal, but what's the goal for you to do this? So you get this just and then to just get more. Do you understand what I'm saying?
The goal for myself, I cannot
Yeah.
say no for the other students.
No,
or
yeah,
people
for
who
I
are-
was
the goal for me
yeah.
is really to want to know more about myself, to unfold a better version of myself constantly, and to have a happier and a better life.
So when you say to know more about yourself, like yourself is which self is that? Might I ask?
My true self, like kind of unfold those layers of the zonio until I get to the very core.
Like the self that we all are? That self?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thanks. That helps a lot. Just
That helps. Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. No, that those were deep and philosophical questions. So it made me think a lot.
Those were good answers, man. That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Do you have anything for tonight? No. Kathy, do you have anything?
She's muted.
Nope, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So let's call it a day. Thank you all for joining, and see you next week.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you. Have a good night.
You too.